Ladies and gentlemen, this is Beans and Rice, your boy Jos.
And this is Jose. How's it going?
I'm going good. We are the producers, we are the current editors, we are the current music at the beginning, music on the outro. We're everything technically right now at 50%, give or take a little here and there. We're just here to have some fun, provide some wholesome advice, and let you guys enjoy a little slice of life.
Also, thanks to the people that have been listening to the podcast so far. It means a lot. It's been pretty nice. Kind of weird to think people maybe listen to us, you know?
It is odd to just have people listen to us bitch or just talk about nothing, where you would think like at a party, who's going to have these discussions at a party when people like either drinking or trying to have fun, smoke, just anything. They're like, why would you talk about that? People talk about other shit. You're the negative Nancy. I mean? I'm not negative, Kay. I'm realistic. There's a difference. I'm a positive person.
Sitting there like a fortune teller trying to give people advice. They're like, get this guy. Who invited him, dude?
You did, actually.
Why is he dressed like a missionary?
This podcast was your idea.
No, we're talking about the party that you're talking about.
Got it.
People
Sorry.
Listening to this.
I thought you were taking yourself out of that context, but... And you know what this is? This is a challenge in our communication, which it's going to be the basis of our conversation today, which is just challenges. And again, there's other than anything challenge. Not Challenger, the spaceship that blew up.
Or the car, they got the Challenger.
Yeah, the Dodge
it's
Challenger.
It's a Dodge, so that might blow up too.
It made a comeback, you know, similar to that Ford Pinto back in the day.
I never seen that one. I got that Ford Fusion right now.
Oh, you got that Fusion?
It's like they fused a Mustang and a Ford Focus, I think that's what they said.
So that's really the Focus?
Made a mid-size sedan.
It's nice. But, you know, challenges, they come in all shapes and sizes. Specifically, I mean, did you bring this up because something was bothering you, or?
Our personality maybe with challenges is pretty similar, so I just also if there's some people that are like listening or need like help with like if they're going through something, because you know I was thinking about the other day, it's already almost the end of the year.
Yeah, we're 4 months away, less than 4 months away, or about 4 months away from Christmas. Think about that.
So
4 months.
You know, so I was wondering, it's like, geez, I don't know, maybe if people are doing bad, you know, there's maybe some sad people out there, some people that need, like, motivation, or, I don't know, I just was thinking about people in general. I guess this last week when I realized the year's almost over, you know, it's like, oh, wow, so the year's almost over. I wonder how people are now that, you know, you don't connect with the same amount of people like before.
Agreed. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a dip in communication because face-to-face almost forces a conversation, right? So now that we're in a digital capacity or virtual, even at work, we actually talked about that today. My manager was on a conference call with us and we had the video on, and she said it was fun because I always crack jokes, right? And she started laughing. She's like, it was nice because yesterday, the day before we had today's meeting, she didn't meet with us at all. She was just in meetings all day with other people. And they usually didn't have their cameras on, or if they did, it just wasn't like a fun or funny type of environment. And our group likes to laugh. I mean, I like to think I head the comedy. They tend to be kind of a bit more straight to the point. And I like that. I like getting work done, but if I can laugh while I do it, I might as well interject jokes. But, I mean, think of that with comedy, right? Because comedy's reward is based on audience feedback. So if you don't have an audience doing that, I'm sure they found ways around it, like if they want to do maybe Zoom meetings and they're unmuted. I don't know how that looks, but having or outdoor, I'd imagine outdoor, you know, comedy
people are doing
set.
like drive-ins. But...
Yeah, or drive-ins. That works too. So hearing the laughter, I think, is a massive part, if not the sole reason comedy exists, right? You want to hear the laughter because then that lets you know they find me funny. But I don't know, just that human element is missing, and it's key. And I think they said scientifically a lot of a challenge people are facing is the mental stress. Depression has gone up. Suicide rates, you know, might be going up, or at least suicidal thoughts in patients. They're really struggling with that. And my sister works for a healthcare, it's a dermatology office, but they have other specialties in there too. And one of the senior patients went in, and she was like, at the home, there were a lot of people that were just kind of passing away and just kind of by themselves because people aren't allowed there. They don't want to risk that. That's kind of sucks. So that's a pretty big challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, I was also thinking about people that are more like introverts, you know? like if it's hard for them to, because maybe they got their fix at work, or if you're a kid like at school or something like that, you kind of get your people fix, or just maybe somebody that sucks at talking to people, somebody will ask them, hey, how's your day, and that makes their day, or like you said, you can make them laugh, and that makes their day or their week, and they go home, and well, maybe they don't have the best life at home or whatever circumstances they're in, but they can kind of break away from home, if at work or school or wherever it may be, so I think that's probably pretty hard for some people. Like, I always like to check on people, so that to me was like the hardest part with this, is that I can't check on people, so, and I don't know how to do it really
Not
good
physically,
with texting.
But yeah, it's different when it's through text, because I think like the emotion doesn't come through. It's literally you just read it.
So I like talking to strangers, so, or if I'm at work, I'll just like check on people, or I'll like pump them up, and just for like the first like 3 months, I think that was like kind of hard on me, just because I couldn't check on people, and that's weird. I've always just cared about people a lot, but I just couldn't check on people, so I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then I'm not sure if it's weird to just like text. There's like people that I'll text, or like on social media, I'll check on them and stuff like that, from time to time. But all the people that I could check on, whether it's like work or if I'm going out to eat or something like that, I can't do that as easy, like for example, I have like bingo at work. I run a bingo club, but I do it just so people could have fun, and it doesn't take any sort of skill. So you could have a senior citizen playing. You can have this guy, he's only lifted weights his whole life.
Are you saying senior citizens are incapable of participating in other activities and weightlifters are idiots?
No, they're if I'm pairing, let's say if I'm doing
I'm just
weightlifting club.
Yeah.
And I don't want the senior citizens are going to feel like a little bit less. They can't.
It's equal ground because it's all luck.
Yeah, it's all luck. So, and I just like to make people laugh and stuff like that, So that to me was like a way to kind of give back to people, or make them feel better about themselves. And I don't know, how people are doing now. If, like you said, if like suicide or mental health or depression's like going up. Gee, that kind of overwhelms me just thinking about it. It's like, what do I even do?
Yeah, I think that's an anxiety thing that kicks in, right? I think everyone has a form of anxiety. Other people really severe, other people less. But that worry for you, I think it comes from altruism, which means that you're like pretty selfless. You always do worry about other people before worrying about yourself. And for work, I don't know about you, I am considered an introvert, and it's funny because people always think introverts just don't talk at all, and they keep to themselves. An introvert is, I think, a loosely based idea or concept, and I think for me, I actually really enjoy being around people, but I need every single day to have at least 3 to 4 hours just by myself that no one's bothering me, right? Whether that be text or whatever. Most of the time, I do it really late at night or early in the morning. I'm an early riser, and I like that in the morning. But I just need time to be by myself, lift myself to my own thoughts, have my own like creative thought process going. That's where my introvert comes in, and I'm pretty like closed off. If I don't really know you, I'm not one of those strangers that are like, "Hey, how's your day?" It's kind of bad. My mom has stage 4 cancer and blah. And I know that's their way maybe to cope and have some support from strangers. That's not me though. I refuse to do that. That's like a very personal, so I don't share stuff like that. And so at work, I actually have a lot of people I'm pretty close to, and we are actually getting together for some birthdays this coming weekend. So it'll be nice to see them, but at work almost every single day, we'd like hug, we'd chat, and just, I don't know, it was nice to see that. Now there are days where I don't talk to them while at work because they're physically not there, and I'm in a different department, so I can't necessarily, I mean, I can reach out to them, but it's not as productive as it would be when I work with them. Or as
convenient,
Yeah, because I have to go. It's funny to say that, out of my way, even though it's all through a keyboard, but it breaks kind of the cycle process of work. So it's been an interesting journey, a challenge, back to that point for me, adapting to the at-home life, because in office, it was easier to work. At home, I had to it took me about 2 months, honestly, to adapt to a productive system.
Yeah, so how do you, like you're saying that you need time to yourself, or you're not one to say hey, or approach people, I guess. So how do you release like your feelings?
I mean, I think we've talked about music on this podcast before and how much we love it, and art, right? And we've shared that I like painting shoes, but not just shoes, painting other stuff. That literally, and it's corny, right? Think of the most corny artistic person. It's like, that is just the most beautiful art and it speaks so much emotion. Think of that. I don't speak that way, but that's how I feel. Like last time when we recorded, was it Eater's Digest or the ones before, where I was here for an extra 2.5 hours and all you and I did was pull up different songs on YouTube for like 2.5 hours straight. That's a release to me. I don't have to talk about my feelings per se.
So you don't have to vent, like, let's say you're sad about something, you don't have to let it out like, hey dude, I'm sad.
Sad is the one I don't, and I think part of that is a challenge, is my pride. It feels weird to be kind of that vulnerable. I'll admit that. I have a hard time when it's my anger. I don't have an issue releasing the anger, like by stating my piece. I can vent anger of like, yeah, this is pissing me off or blah blah blah. But as far as like, oh, this really upset me and I'm really sad or feeling down and low about it, I don't like sharing that.
Yeah, I think we're pretty similar to like, well, I'm super easy to approach people, but I also, for me, it's super hard. It's challenging to ask for help. You know what I mean? So that for me has always been like super hard. And it's really crazy how you say, you're not really one that'll, I guess, be approaching a bunch of people, but sometimes it trips me out how I have such an ease to be like, hey, are you okay, or how are you feeling, or you look like you're sad and stuff like that. So sometimes that trips me out when it's so easy for me to do that and like help people.
Yeah.
But I can't even do it for myself. You know what I mean? So sometimes it makes me feel like a hypocrite. I'm like, dude,
no.
It's like I'm having a tough time even telling this person like, hey, I'm having a bad day, or it's like, hey, don't just leave me alone or something like that, or I'm sad or whatever. I don't, I can't tell anyone. There's people that I could tell, I could be like, hey, dude, I'm not doing so good or whatever.
Yeah, they would care too.
So you're right. So and it's like you said, maybe it's like a pride thing. Probably it's just that. And I think about it all the time, and it's like the silliest thing to me that I know all these people that I like help or whatever, that I give advice to or whatever, would be there for me, and be like, oh man, it's like, because some people, man, what's crazy is like my temper or my I don't know, my vibe, it's like it's really hard for me to have a bad day, but if I'm having a bad day, like I don't even need to say anything, and it's just so draining on people's, like my energy drains other people. If I'm having a bad day, it'll like drain other people.
I'm the same. I think that my energy, it's an odd thing. And it's funny because this is, how we talked about topics we have no business discussing because we're not professionals by any means. But back to the point of you being able to shoulder, I don't want to call it a burden because I don't think they're a burden when they're sharing something with you and you want to help them through it. But I think that we're so self-critical, not just you and I, but people are so always self-critical of themselves that sometimes maybe you think that part of the reason you're either sad or going through a tough time is truly your fault. You know what I mean? And mostly people like you and I think we're typically pretty go-lucky, happy people, right? So when something's bugging us, at least I personally think my attitude has a lot to do with it, right? I think of work, and some days I think my bad days are justified based on external forces, but there are some times where there's really not anything going on, and for some stupid reason I chose to get pissed off, right? Like I let that one thing bother me. I think anger is a normal emotion and everyone should feel it, and there are some times, how everyone says you determine your own happiness. Some people take that to literally meaning, oh, you can be happy at all times because you get to choose that. I'm like, but back to that kind of concept of like, you don't know what joy is unless you feel, sorrow. Anger and sadness, all those are normal and natural emotions that I think is just sometimes you either add too much to it or too poorly, and if you're going to add to one, it should be adding joy. And I don't know, I think sometimes we just put ourselves in that rut where I don't want to express this, and then there's us being men. I think everyone talks about how women have to grow up thinking I have to look a specific way, and that's very, very true. I think the way it's marketed, right? I don't think anyone can deny it reasonably. And then with men,
it'd be so hard to be a girl. Imagine when you're like hitting puberty and stuff like that. You know?
Just
like a guy, dude. I can stink. I can wear the same stuff every single day. I don't have to do my hair. I grow hair out of my armpits, out of everywhere.
Now you have to shave it. You have some stubble on your upper lip. Now you got to wax it. Like A, it's expensive. B, it's hormonal because they have all these like imbalances that go through. And guys, we have hormones, but we behave in a very different way. But guys just don't talk about their feelings. You just suck it up and go.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. And on top of that, I think our cultures, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't allow it.
Yeah, and I think what's funny is like, you brought it up earlier. It's and I think it's like for a lot of people too. It's probably like a lot of it's probably pride. It's like maybe if you put yourself in a vulnerable spot, or maybe that's another thing too, is that you're afraid to be like vulnerable. So if you're putting you're kind of letting your shield down and be like, hey man, I'm like struggling. Maybe we overthink that too much, to where it's like, oh, what is this person going to think of me? When it's just like if somebody was telling me, I don't think anything about it. It's like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
When it's so simple
for sure
that they're not going to overreact. Like, oh, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? You know what I mean? What do you mean you're sad? Are you fucking blah, 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 blah?
And you're like, yeah, shit happens. Don't worry. I get it. But you can't reason with that with yourself for any particular reason. Because maybe it's a sense of invincibility, I guess, right? So it's even to ourselves, and not just admitting it to someone else. Admitting to ourselves that bothered us is hard because we're like, oh, I failed. I don't know. That's just my thought process on how I handle it, which is very unhealthy, don't get me wrong. And I've been through cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't know if you know what that is.
I don't even know. It sounds like Magneto.
It sounds like Magneto,
or
huh?
Professor X, whatever they do when they hook him up to the machine.
Yeah. It's basically just a way to reprogram how you think and handle it. And I went for anxiety. Most of it's actually pretty free. If you check with your insurance, they'll give you a list. So FYI, anyone that's dealing with something like that.
So how do you feel with like anxiety? Like when you say that you had to go, like, so what would you get anxious about, or what would trigger you or whatever?
It's funny. Someone summarized it. I don't know who it was, so unfortunately can't quote it. But they said anxiety is essentially fear of the future, and depression is being stuck in the past. And essentially, that's kind of true, right? You typically are depressed because something happened to you, or you had an experience, aka you already lived through it. And then anxiety is like wondering what will happen if, right? It's more of an if concept. For me, the anxiety was, I guess, just pressures either at work or at home, pressures I place on myself of succession, whether it be finances, whether it be promotions at work, whether it be, oh shit, I know sometimes I can be a bit rough around the edges, even though I'm a pretty happy guy. Did I truly offend someone I truly love and care about, and I didn't mean to? For example, the day before yesterday, my brother and I were talking about some things, and I'm going to keep it confidential because there's no reason. But at the end of the day, I started off in a conversation to support him. I understand why he got defensive, and I was talking calmly, but he kept being super defensive, and he started raising his voice and getting aggressive. So after about like 2 minutes, I started now shitting on him basically, and he almost started crying in front of me. Like his eyes teared up, and I'd never seen him cry other than like when certain relatives have died, right? Like other than that, I've never seen my brother cry. And so I was like, oh shit. So I dialed it back just a little bit, but I still kind of kept my foot on the pedal, sadly. And we walked away, and I had to go back and suck up my pride and just say, listen, I know you felt like I was shitting on you. That's not the case. I did shit on you. Don't get me wrong. I farted,
maybe.
Sharted, just a mix of both. Not too much shit. But so I said, I know I was like ragging on you. I expressed why though. I started doing. I said, I tried talking to you calmly, and anytime I ever try to talk to him about anything, he gets super defensive and aggressive back towards me. And I'm like, listen, I'm just trying to talk to you calm. But at the end of the day, I said, I love you, and I'm only having this discussion because I want to help you through this.
Right.
And so whatever, we're fine. I guess that's a difference also with guys. It's easier for us to physically fight and just get over it than it is to talk about feelings, right? Because I could tell he didn't even want to talk about them either.
So we have to punch the feelings into each other or
literally
something.
Almost a physical manifestation of it. Yeah.
Because then, if you were going to fight when you were a kid, you get in a fight, and then it's like after that, you like, okay, we're cool with the person who you're going to fight with.
In school, like, it's funny. I used to get in quite a few fights. I actually liked fighting as a kid. Now I hate it, to be honest. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense to me. But I remember fighting, and you'd lose some, you'd win some. But regardless of the outcome, usually I'd end up being like good buddies with that person. Like, hey, we're cool. We're in class. We'd chill. We'd want to be partners. We'd kick it back and laugh, even though we like hated each other for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like you beat the senses into each other.
Yeah.
Like your emotions.
It's like Chad Daniels. I don't know if you've heard of that comedian. He's hilarious. He says something similar. He's like, a guy can fight someone, and 10 years or 10 minutes later they can share a beer and just be the best of buds. He goes, but a woman will hold a grudge for the rest of her life over something she thinks she overheard someone talking possibly about her, and they can't confirm it, right? They just think that they did, so now they're the enemies for life.
Well, dude, I don't know, because maybe I got the heart of a lunch lady or something, but it's like a challenging thing for me sometimes is like holding grudges, man.
Yeah.
Like for me, if like somebody, I don't know if it's like if lets me down or something like that, or crosses me or something like that, it's just like it could be small or something, but dude, they don't even exist. You know what I mean? So I don't even think about them. It's just like instantly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not, and I know I'm not sure if that's healthy or unhealthy.
Well, it depends on how you handle it, really. Like,
I won't lash out. You know?
That could be healthy. For me, I don't think it's healthy. My brother's super passive in that way. Like, if fist comes to fighting, like, he will. But as far as words, I don't know, it's a talent for me. Like, when I look at it. So if you're like that, that's a talent from my eyes and my perspective. Because depending on the person, I guess their intent is what really pisses me off. So, like, if I think someone's trying to pull a fast one, if they were confused and weren't and it was a misunderstanding, I can easily let that go. I don't have a problem moving on. But when I feel like someone's truly trying to, like, play me as a stupid or an idiot or try to pull a fast one on me, that's when I get really pissed. And I do hold grudges, sadly. And it takes me years. I do eventually
so
get
it's
over
both the girls and guys, dude. Because for me, grudges, dude.
I didn't say girls and guys are distinctly different exactly that way. The Grudge.
That's inside of me right now.
Is it?
All these people, dude.
No, I think it's funny. Girls and guys in general behave differently. I think that there's still a lot of overlapping traits and things that you just can't get past. That's life. Those are normal things, but girls experience things we don't have to experience. Thank goodness, quite frankly. Yeah, I don't think I could deal with it.
No, I think about stuff like that all the time. It's just like when you're younger, it's just like even how rude you are to girls. You know what I mean?
That's the way. Usually, that's how boys flirt with girls. To, like, let them know they like you. Which is odd. It's so
just
stupid.
How we were talking about beating the sense into you, or whatever.
It's so dumb, really, that guys think that. I don't know where we get that idea.
But yeah, it's just like so weird. Sometimes I think about how. As a guy, when you hit like puberty and stuff, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's so, you don't even think. Everything's so like irrational, It's just like everything's just like moving so fast, and you don't even consider like a girl's feelings or anything like that. Really,
no, you don't.
You're just horny. You're just like your dick is like flying out of your body, and you're trying to keep it in. And that's like it. It's just scary. Your dick. It's just like, your dick's out like all day. It's like you're just like.
Well, back to the point of me saying, men usually don't acknowledge their feelings. Like, if you like a girl, you tease her, and for whatever, that's obviously the opposite of what you should probably do, right? So it's your way of like shunning the idea that you like her. Is I'm just gonna tease her.
Oh.
That way it doesn't look like I like her, and then I physically will behave that way. So then I maybe don't even end up liking her. I don't know. We should somehow find some psychologist that has
so weird
some free time to talk to two Latinos that have no idea about psychology, because it's an esoteric type of conversation.
I mean, for me, like if I get anxious, because I was trying to figure out like what you feel like when you get anxious. Like, do you get like tingly, or like do you get upset with yourself? Do you get mad? Do you get sad? Or like when you're having like an anxiety, I'm like, what is it, like a attack?
For me, the anxiety, like I mentioned success.
Right. So
it's
how,
like
how do
you
how do you act out when you're getting anxious about success and stuff like that? Like,
I shut down.
So you stop talking to everyone?
Yeah. So you remember how I said I need my space? A lot of the time, that's obviously so that I can sort through my feelings and stuff. So I can do well and people won't know, and I manage it throughout the day. But if I don't have time to kind of sort through my thoughts and compartmentalize them appropriately, I start shutting down so fast that I physically will do something, but I'm not even consciously aware of it. Like I could be staring and watching a movie, but I'm constantly thinking about something in the back of my head. And then,
so you're just like a clone, like a drone. Like
yeah, pretty much like I'm a zombie. And then so that's, I guess, the first stage that comes in stages. And then I start to like really start to think, oh man, like, oh, I failed my parents, right? Because they came and moved here to kind of make it easier for us instead of growing up on the corner from Miami where I was born, where across the street from the elementary school there was a liquor store where people were shooting up heroin, doing crack cocaine. Like literally you would see that. They're like, okay, let's move here. So I'm like, that's weird shit, right? It's me thinking of what other person might think, what another person might think of what I should be in terms of what success looks like, right? Not the conventional way. Like
So like you're worried almost like you can get caught up in like other people's approval?
Almost, yeah. And it's funny because generally I think I have a good self-esteem.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that collapses for one moment. And that moment, that whole wave of like, it just rushes over you. And it starts building. And if I can't manage it, and that's part of what CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, really helps with, is kind of changing the mindset and reacting. So it's not completely stopping it. It's just once it start happening, start changing that idea.
See, for me, sometimes it's like the thing that I find that's like the most challenging for me with like not expressing myself. It's like I was saying earlier. It's if I get mad, then I'm a Hulk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it's like I'm an asshole, or I'll dismiss everybody. I don't care if somebody's talking to me. I'm super short. I'll walk past you, whoever, even if you're not the person.
This is the way you deal with anxiety?
Well, this is when I'm feeling like anxious, you know, or when I deprive my feelings, maybe.
Sure.
So this we're talking about challenges. Is like I try to the thing that I started challenging myself to do more is to maybe just express how I feel.
Sure.
I guess even if it's little by little, just like, so I never like just flood somebody, you know what I mean? Because I could do that sometimes, and some of my friends are really good once they get to know me and we're having a conversation. I just go off the walls and I just like drop a bunch of shit on them, Yeah. They're like, all right, you need to wrap it up or
simmer down.
Yeah, and then we're cool. The next day they know not to bring it up. They were just there listening to me. I know I was in my feelings or whatever. But there's like other people that maybe don't know me like that, like some of my friends where I can get really deep about things and stuff like that. And you bring something that triggers me or something, some thought or some feeling.
Yeah.
Or maybe I've been upset or maybe I've been sad. And then I'm telling this janitor why I'm so sad, or something like something weird.
Yeah.
For way too long. And they're like, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? You know what I mean? But I think that's the thing for me is that I kind of overflooded myself with emotions that I didn't release. So in a way with me, the way that I release them is usually by helping people, which is probably not healthy, because there's a difference between like helping people, which is fine. And I love helping people.
It's not a true outlet though.
But that's what I'm saying. So for me,
that's
it's
why
like,
it's not healthy.
Right. So it's like I'm getting a fix, but technically I'm not, because I'm just it's like a fake fix. I'm just being happy because I can see that they're happy, so it kind of lifts my mood because they're happy, but it didn't address anything that I did or anything that I fixed for myself.
Yeah, once they're out of your sight, once you stop talking to them, then your support is gone.
Right, so it's still me. So even if I'm checking in on other people, so that's what I've been trying to do more is be more like outspoken or I don't know, just like sharing my feelings. And I have one of my brothers, Gabe. He's actually he's pretty good at. I think he's been helping me with that.
Yeah. Because
kind of how I explained to you, I'm also kind of like you, where I can just be left alone. You put me under a rock or under a little thing of glitter, dude, I won't come out, dude. The recluse it's not gonna get loose. Okay. So I can do that super easily, So sure. I was telling my brother, I was letting him know that it'd be nice if we like start hanging out more and stuff like that. But and then my older brother, I let him know the other day we were talking about the podcast. It's like, well, you know, I have, like, I told him, it's like, you know, I have like an issue just like saying, hey, let's do this, or, you know, it's like, so if you ever want to do something, just like let me know, you know, it's like, just tell me. I'll try to be better, right? But I personally have a problem, just like, all right, because I'm cool just bugging out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I kind of started addressing with people is that maybe I need to be a little bit more. Maybe I need to get in that roller coaster.
More open, more emotionally open.
Yeah, you know, with my own stuff, you know, or my own flaws that I don't. I'm really good with other people, but sometimes I'm not good at treating myself good. You know what I mean? So I have a lot of things that'll keep me busy, you know. So I have like a lot of things that I love to do, like art and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, with music and stuff like that, I can release my stress or whatever. But some of the things you could only change by doing them. Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, the art, I think it's almost a distraction sometimes if you let it come out in the art. I think that's therapeutic, and artists will speak to that. But I agree to your point. Sometimes there's only, I don't know if this is just how humans are designed, you have to say it to someone as a sounding board so that you can hear the support back to you.
Right, and you just get out of your head that, man, that shit was super easy to do. And I didn't die. You know, this person's still talking to me, doesn't think I'm a freak.
They probably have more respect for you and they actually probably feel good about themselves. And that's where I think even some of my anxiety may come from, right? Because then I know I have these group of family and friends that I know would love to help me. And I'm almost like even not allowing them to be as good of friends as maybe they want to, right? Like I think about that sometimes where they poured out their heart and soul to me and I supported them. And then they may, because they know me, even though I'm not saying anything, they know I'm struggling, but I'm not letting them help me. That's got to be frustrating on their part.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel like shit because I'm like, I just made you feel like a bad friend, even though that wasn't really your fault. It was my fault.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept, right?
So
like I did that to myself and them.
So it's like you got to step away from that and then just be vulnerable, you know? It's like, because it's not a big deal, you know? It's not, we overthink too much stuff.
Yeah.
We're just, and it's like a human thing, I guess, you know? It's like and what may be hard for you, like, and one thing that I don't really like when people talk about rich people and poor people, or rich people versus poor people, and they're like, oh, well, they got it so easy. You know, he's always had somebody buy him, you know, a car.
Yeah.
Whatever. He always had everything. Food. He always had a nice house. He always had all of this. But to that rich kid, something as simple as maybe going through the drive-thru and ordering something for himself, because he has never had to do that or anything like that, you know?
Yeah.
It could be like as hard as like somebody that came from a way different, you know, maybe poor or whatever, doing something that's like super uncomfortable for them, you know, which...
What if the rich kid, because a lot of rich kids, I mean, stereotype, are raised by people that aren't their parents. That's got to be tough. I've always had my parents, right? They both lived healthy lives. They still are alive, and thank God. They both agreed, and it's funny because as an adult, I appreciated things as a kid, and I knew we were kind of poor growing up. I knew we were on welfare, right? And I knew, okay, we're not rich. We never... What was the right word? My dad always made sure there's food on the table, clothes on our back, and a roof over our head.
Like always the essentials.
Oh, those three things.
He was the essential worker, the original essential worker.
Those three and I'm going to say materialistic things were always provided.
Yeah.
On top of that, he was always with us in terms of, if he wasn't at work, he was with us. He'd turn down jobs knowing that he wouldn't be able to see us very often. And him and my mom agreed to this. And it's funny because I have a massive amount of respect for a coworker of mine. He has like 4 little girls, and he's the sole income, even though the wife could work. But they both agreed, like my parents, hey, we want our kids to be raised by us. We don't want no daycare. We don't want whatever. I'm not judging people that do daycare.
Yeah.
But I feel, and as people share things with me, being able to have my mom at home at all times and my dad also present once he'd come home from work and leave work at work, I feel that my upbringing was different and I'm able to handle things a bit more. There's a sense of security, a sense of love. And imagine like a rich kid that would almost never see their parents. Yeah, okay, maybe he's driving a Lambo, but Lambos are nice. Ferraris are nice. Rolls Royce, hell, I would love a Rolls Royce. But now that I'm more mature and I'm not a 15-year-old kid only thinking about money and like cars, how could you replace the experience I had with my parents always there for me, supporting me with whatever? They didn't have the means to support me in some things. Like, I wanted to do art, but art's hell of expensive. Now as an adult, I have thankfully money and I'm able to express myself and participate in it. But that's a burden as a kid I didn't necessarily understand, and it bothered me. As an adult, I look back, I'm like, well, they did the best they could for me, so I really appreciate that. But a rich kid, they're like, yeah, they gave me everything material wise, but they never saw me play basketball. They never showed up to any of my concerts when I played music. Like, that's got to be crushing because there was no support that way. So I think in and of itself, that's harder because it there's a void you can't fill, right?
Well, that's what I mean with, the rich kid probably could say the same thing about you. It's like, oh, geez, my dad always did this. I can't imagine, this to be in your shoes.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So I think people a lot of time just kind of just like gloss over that and just assume that you could be too big or too powerful or whatever to have problems. You know what I mean? Or to be insecure, to have insecurities, or to have challenges. That I mean, that's for everybody as a person, and it could be, I don't know, somebody's hardest challenge might be learning how to read or something like that,
Yeah.
And then some other kid is just being able to speak, even though he's had everything, but his hardest thing is being able to speak. But he might have everything else, you can imagine in the world, and that's just as hard as like your hardest thing. It's just different, so everybody has like their own thing that's like super hard for them.
Well, it's how they process things, and everyone has their own experience, right? Even if you're physically essentially in the same spot that someone is during the same event, you can process it differently.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's say if you were talking to a crowd of 10 people and you tell them about how you were from Mexico City and you came here, right? You learned English, you have an accent, right? 10 people, they hear the exact same story, right? Word for word, it's the same. You didn't change the story for all 10 of them. They heard the same story. So someone might be like, wow, I think it's phenomenal that he learned English. Someone else is like, they might just only focus on your accent, like, hey, I like that accent. Or they're like, ugh, I hate that accent.
Oh, this guy stole my job.
Yeah, someone's like, oh, this guy came here and stole my job. Another person might just hear the story and play it in their head and like, I wonder how I would fare with that. So they all hear the same message from the same person, but they interpret it differently. So that's essentially what life is, right? Just a collective solo experience of your thoughts, your knowledge, and that becomes your reality. So, because even in my same household, my brother and my sister might feel differently about something that I feel in my upbringing, even though we were raised in the same house.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because sometimes what's so funny is that your own family, you don't even know as much as you think you know them.
Yeah.
Like internally, just of the whole conversation we've been having now, that maybe I don't want to share this, maybe I don't want to share that, and so maybe if maybe my challenge, if people, whoever's listening, is maybe the people that are close to you, whether it's family or friends. And family, it could be friends, you know what I mean? I would challenge them to maybe just find a new emotion or something that they struggle with.
Yeah.
And you share one that you struggle with, and then just kind of like, I mean, because like you said, it's like very bonding when you're like, oh damn, you told me this. And you can tell when it's like from deep in your heart, you know what I mean? When somebody's like telling you something, it's like, oh man, I know that was tough for him to say, or her.
Yeah.
So when you share something like that, like there's not one person that can tell me that whenever you have a conversation like that with someone that you care about, like after you leave, whether it was like the super sad conversation or a super happy one, like, man, you feel really fucking good. You know what I mean? You feel like, damn, because you just connect with that person like super deep. You know what I mean? And you just, I don't know, you just come out, you're just feeling like great. You're like, oh man, I wonder why we never had this conversation. Or, geez, like I've known this person for XX amount of years. Like, man, it's just crazy. Like I respect them, or I love them even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's fun. I don't know. I think I'm so guarded that sometimes I try to give myself the outside perspective. I think that's a healthy thing to do. I'm like, you're such an asshole sometimes for not being able to allow myself to share things or just talk about some stuff. And I do here and there, like very rare circumstances, but not too much.
my challenge to everybody, maybe this could be wholesome advice.
Yeah, I mean, we've given advice, so maybe now flip it. Just give them a challenge.
Yeah, so my challenge is just check on 2 or 3 people, whether it's family, and just try to have like a conversation about the weirdest shit that you could think of. I bet you'll be super surprised to just like hear about something that you've never had a conversation with them about.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to come up with a challenge. Whether you have a diary or not, just take a piece of paper, pen or pencil, whatever your choice of writing utensil is, and write maybe 5 things about yourself over the course of your life that you never thought that you would maybe achieve. Whether it happened because you intended it to happen, or even it just haphazardly happened. Like you just tried it. Hey, look what it worked.
All right,
that's my challenge to you guys.
Well, I love it. I think this was like I think it's like kind of one of the most serious conversations we've even had together.
Even as friends, period. Yeah. Like we shit you not. Those past 3 like that we just bullshit. That is literally 99.9% of our conversations. Is just us clowning, because that's, I guess, our way of emotionally decompressing. And then this time we decided to open up, and it was like a different world for us. So
starting to get all gloomy, but anything else you want to say, or any people you want to shout out, or anything like that?
No immediate shout outs at the moment, but again, any of you that are listening, even if it's just one episode, I really appreciate. I think it's kind of cool and unique that someone even decides to tune in and like, what are these people speaking about? They spelled beans wrong. What the hell's going on?
ESL, that's what happened.
Extremely slow learners right here. But so we appreciate it. Hopefully you draw from it what you need to. If it enjoyed you, if it uplifted you, if you chose to turn it off, you're already not hearing this piece. But props to you. Maybe we'll catch you on another episode. This is Jos, and I'm out.
And this is Jose. Love you guys. Stay safe. Catch you later.